Well hit. It's carrying. It's gone. Opposite field home run, Mookie Betts. And it is 7-1.
That's a cruel greeting into the ball game for Josh Fleming from Mookie Betts.
So now Mookie, Dan Schulman, and Chris Singleton on the call on ESPN Radio has hit a home run for the Dodgers in the World Series. He's also hit a home run against them when he was with the Red Sox. Keyshawn doesn't like that latter part. Certainly likes the former. Dodgers take a 1-0 series lead last night in the World Series with an 8-3 win over Tampa, thanks to Clayton Kershaw. 6 innings of one-run baseball. It's amazing how 6 innings can change the tide of a guy who's been great for 13 years. But that's the way it goes. We'll talk to baseball's Buster Olney coming up at 6:40 Eastern, about 10 minutes from now, 8 minutes from now, to get his reaction. Game 2 tonight, Tony Gonsolin, the 26-year-old for the Dodgers. Blake Snell, the Rays Cy Young Award winner in 2018, will counter. From Tampa to Miami, Tua Tagovailoa named the Dolphins starting quarterback. Adam Schefter said he impressed the team. Keyshawn called it after the Dolphins' bye week was staggered a little bit with regards to all the schedule changes. Came a little earlier than many people had thought from the initial schedule, but he'll have a bye to get ready, a little extra work, and then his first game as a starter against the Rams. After that, Arizona, the Chargers, Denver, the Jets, and the Bengals. He might be set up for some early success. More thoughts on Tua starting against Aaron Donald coming up at 7 a.m. Eastern. And the Pacers have a head coach. They've hired the Raptors assistant, Nate Bjorkgren. Yes, Raptors assistant. Who knew the NBA was a cradle of coaches from the state of Iowa? Nick Nurse from Carroll, Iowa. His assistant from Storm Lake, Iowa, which means the remaining NBA head coaching openings at this point with Indiana filled are the Rockets, the Thunder, and the Pelicans. And SportsCenter is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. You need the best coverage, and not just football, but your wireless network too. Straight Talk Wireless gives you the same networks as big carriers for up to half the cost. $45 a month for 25 gigs of high-speed data, then 2G. Savings may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
I don't even know where to start with the Cowboys other than they're pathetic. It's a bad football team. Like, they stink.
Damn, I mean, Ezekiel Elliott has been bad.
I'm not in the feel-good mood, frankly.
Jeez.
So you heard there from the host, Keyshawn Johnson. Then you heard from Stephen A. And then you heard from 78-year-old Jerry Jones. Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin. J. Will be back tomorrow. Bart Scott, the 11-year...
You said that yesterday.
The 11-year NFL veteran, which I said earlier this morning. Jets Ravens is with us this morning, doing a great job. As always, let's get right into the Cowboy conversation coming off the debacle in Big D on Monday Night Football. Jane Slater of the NFL Network, who's a terrific reporter and has been all over the Dallas Cowboys beat for years, tweeting this yesterday, raising a lot of eyebrows. Quote, Cowboys players initially bought into keeping things internal. Now as they sit 2-4, the discontent is leaking out. On the coaching staff, quote, totally unprepared. They don't teach. They don't have any sense of adjusting on the fly. That's what one player told Jane Slater. Another said, quote, they just aren't good at their jobs. It is a political season, so let me make sure we get the equal time in here. That was railing against Mike McCarthy and the coaching staff. After hearing that, McCarthy said this.
And I just really go back to my first meeting with the football team. I've always stated this to every team that I've coached. I think it's important to handle things as men. I mean, if you do have something to say publicly that is of most importance, I think it's important to say it to the individual, particularly in a group dynamic setting, and especially in the game of football, especially for the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, Key, what do you think?
Man, I really don't care, to be honest with you, when it's said. Whether it's in a public setting, privately, obviously coaches, they don't like when players say negative things about their style of coaching and the way things are being done. But when you start to see players saying those things, now I would like for the players to put their names out of it because that's just who I am. Mm-hmm. If I don't need to go behind the coaches or players' backs and whisper things, if they are doing their job, put your name to it, it's fine. With that being said, when there is smoke, there's fire. Mm-hmm. There's something there. What that something is, we don't obviously know because we're not in the building. Only thing we can see is the results that were put on the field against the Arizona Cardinals, which they quite frankly stink. And they were not good. They look horrible. When you look at Mike McCarthy's first hire, when he was first hired, and you look at Mike Nolan, Mike McCarthy hired him, you thought Okay. 2 former head coaches, won a Super Bowl winner, had some success as a DC in this league, kind of know his stuff. You thought it would be much better than it's turned out. Mm-hmm. They're not buying into what they're selling. They're not buying into it. And if they're not buying into it and you're looking at it from an ownership standpoint, how long do you ride this out? It's very easy to fire the defensive coordinator tomorrow. It's very easy to fire him at the end of the season. But do you want to hit the reset button as a whole? You got Dak Prescott who's coming back, so he's coming back off injury, so that's a good thing when he's back next season. That'll be good for you. Hit the reset button on Mike McCarthy at the end of the year. If it doesn't go according to what that plan is, or are you willing to sacrifice that young talent over the next couple years and kind of getting the same sort of production that you got this year? And if I'm a billionaire times over, like a Jerry Jones, and I have Mike McCarthy there, and I'm not winning the division, and I put money and drafted CeeDee Lamb and put money into other players, and I know the offensive line has been decimated. I understand. I get that. But you still should be competitive. There's teams like the San Francisco 49ers. Shanahan figured out how to put that together to beat the Rams and win some games. And there's other teams that have injuries as well that figure out how to get things done. If we can't figure it out, hit the reset button. And if it costs me whatever, $25 million to get you out of here, fine. Now I'm going to go find that coach, and I'm going to write the biggest check, whoever that coach is. I'm going to go take somebody else's coach if I'm Jerry Jones, and I'm going to bring that dude here. I'm going to bring Eric Bieniemy. I'm going to bring Jim Harbaugh because I need stuff. I like Harbaugh as a pro coach. I like it. Now, he may get a little crazy in year 4 or 5, but I'm willing to pay $100+ million in that 4-year window to get whatever the numbers turn out to be.
Do they beat Ohio State yet? You want to bring him here to try and win in the NFL?
He's a pro coach.
I get it. He'll burn you out.
He deserves to be in the pros because his style works. And I like him to restore order. And young quarterback, you've seen what he's done with young quarterbacks in the pros.
Okay. If Harbaugh, if you did go that route, I tell you what, half of those players won't be on that team. When are we gonna start putting ownership? Listen, listen. I'm not the biggest Mike Nolan fan, right? You know, he knows why. But Mike Nolan's with me.
He did coach.
He's with me in Baltimore. He was the reason that the Baltimore Ravens went to a 3-4 from a 4-3. So I know he got the secret sauce. Now, at some point, we got to put it on the players. These players are soft. And I tell you what, I've never lost. It was a couple of teams that we've always
Let me ask you this, though. Let me. The players are soft, in your opinion, right?
Man, they are soft, horrible.
But is that not indicative of the coach's personality and how they could get like I've been around hard-nosed coaches.
Yeah. It ain't about being Mike Nolan, hard-nosed coach. It ain't about that.
So that's personality, though, right?
No, it's about what they decided to do and how they decided to build this football team. They decided to build it on the offensive side of the ball, try and put up a lot of points, change their identity to more about Dak and not more about Ezekiel Elliott. Understand the offensive line, is decimated, and they're not the unit that they used to be. So it's harder to really have the offense go through Dak. Go through Elliott. But the problem is. Listen, whenever I ever played a Dallas Cowboys team, it was always the softest team I've ever played. Right? Mentally, physically. I'm telling you. Listen,
Man,
remember.
I was on that team. What you mean?
They were soft. We got the dub that day, too.
I wasn't soft. So
yeah, you weren't soft, but what I'm saying is the philosophy, and as an organization, their brand is soft. They want to act like they're a tough team, and they want to act like they're contenders. They're front runners. They've always been a front-running organization. Whenever we played them, we knew it was going to be barbecue chicken because that's the way they roll. Everything is so nice and plush for them. They got the best facilities. They got the best stadium. They got the best of everything, and it makes them soft. And they've always been underachievers. Whenever we talked about a Dallas team ever, since the 90s.
See, I feel like
these players are whack.
Personality, though,
man,
is the head coach. That's just me.
Listen, I've been with Mike Nolan. Mike Nolan, like I said, we got our issues, but he knows what he's talking about. Unprepared, that's never any any description
I
that you
wouldn't
say
think-
about Mike Nolan.
I
see
wouldn't
some of
think
the
that.
I see some of the dumbest football players I've ever seen in football, and their lack of communication, their lack of football acumen. They don't know how. Listen, maybe it's too complicated for them because there's a lot of dumb football players in the league right now. They don't understand what that means when we have two receivers
Jeez.
in close proximity to each other. That means that we're going to talk about less limbo. You see guys that's farming their own land. They're selfish. They're saying, no, I'm going to get my guy. I don't care if it's hard for you because the guy's in a cut split.
We got a wrap here, man. On this show, when they
I'm
say
just telling
rap,
you, bro.
we stop talking.
I'm just telling you, man, because they be wacky D right there, man.
But
You
what
can't
can